Label your notes, top right hand corner so we can keep them straight. What the date is today? What is date? As I said, 21,
August 21st.
13.
Yeah.
Get that straight. And you'll find lots of times that, on days where we had a lot of questions from the day before assignments, which will be a lot of the time, we'll start the notes later. What that may mean is we do less examples, and then it feeds into tomorrow, and we kind of gives you the chance to work on some tonight, and then you'll have to ask some questions tomorrow. That's where I may go ahead, if we end up doing more examples tomorrow, I may record it. I didn't record that, but, record it to where you guys can look at it. Oh, we're doing section 1.3, distance and midpoints. Distance is just that, distance on a number line. You guys remember what a number line is? Remember having, number line is just left to right, so one dimension. All these marks evenly spaced apart. You have a coordinate on the number line. That's 0, then that's -1, -2. Just make your own nice, pretty, beautiful number line. Let's put some points on here. We'll call that A, B, C, and D. Distance on a number line is done by finding the difference. What does difference mean?
Subtraction.
Very good. Difference of each point's coordinates. Now, you'll see in the book absolute value of, say, x2 minus x1. Why do I have absolute value?
Because it has to be 0.
Distance is always
Positive.
off. You didn't drive -30 miles. Now, distance, negative and positive, is basically just used for direction, just as it is on a number line. Negative means to the what of 0?
Left.
Means it's somewhere to the left of 0, right? That's direction. Positive means somewhere to the what?
Right.
Okay? The distance between them has nothing to do with positive or negative, it's just how far from here to there. Now, if I ask you to go -3, the negative I gave you was what? If I asked you to go -3 from C, you'd go to C, the negative would tell you to go which direction?
Backward.
Left, and then the 3 would tell you the distance to go. So even still, in essence, when I'm talking about the distance is what?
Positive.
Positive. The direction was what the negative gave you. 1, 2, 3. I end up at 1. Okay, so distance is always positive.
Interesting.
So, I shouldn't have to do anything but that. Find that for me. Find that for me. Show your work. Find that for me. Then be a dear and find that one for me. On your mark, set, go.
Owen.
I'm going to be working this up here while you guys are doing it down there. Okay, I did the first one. I'm gonna unfreeze it now. What did I do? The coordinate of A was what?
-4.
The coordinate of B was what?
-1.
So I found the difference between those two, but look, there's two negatives, right? Difference means negative itself, so it's -4 minus, I put in parentheses a -1, which made this -4 plus 1, got me -3, the absolute value of -3 is what?
3.
Now, stop for a second. How many of you in here are thinking, why in the world would I go through all of that when I could simply go up here and go, 1, 2,
Me too.
3. I don't blame you. Hey, I'm all for doing things easier too. However, what if A's coordinate was -586 and B's coordinate was 1,245,000? Do you want to count all those spaces?
No.
So we have to have an alternate way when it's not that easy. What you gotta understand, it's much easier to learn a concept with a simple situation and then apply it to more what? Difficult situations. So yes, I can see why you'd want to go 1, 2, 3. Hey, I'm okay with that. Yes.
How come there's a -3
Because
This is a negative.
because it was a -4 plus 1. That basically this one positive cancel out to one of these 4 negatives, leaving me just with 3 negatives. Okay. And if you remember, in fact, it's funny, I was doing this intermediate algebra, kind of going over some of those things. There's kind of 2 trains of thought on adding and subtracting. I am going off a tangent here. You can either use rules. The rule is, think of the numbers separate from the signs. When adding and subtracting, if the signs are the same, add the numbers, keep the sign. You've probably been told that. And when the signs are different and you're adding, subtract the numbers, take the sign of the larger just number. So if you look here, the signs were different. I subtracted 4 minus 1, got 3, and then the 4 is a bigger number than a 1, and it was negative, so I made it -3. I always thought of it as, okay, there's 4 negatives sitting over here, there's 1 positive over here. This 1 positive, what? Cancels out one of those 4 negatives, leaving what? 3 negatives. That's the way that always worked best for me. But there, some people like rules, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Anyhow, so off my soapbox about this, now you guys do these 3. See how you do. Okay? So do it this way. And like I said, so do it this way and then do what to check your answer? Count. Yes.
How did you set it up like that?
Okay, to do BC,
No, like the AB, how'd you set that up?
what I did is I looked the coordinates of B. Like I'm going to go up here at B. B's coordinate is what? So I put -1 minus, parentheses, put my other absolute value. Then I look up here and I say, what's C's coordinate? 4. Now, looks here, they're the same sign. -1 here plus basically a -4 here leaves me how many negatives? 5 negatives. Absolute value of -5 is? So the answer is?
5.
Hey, and I'll be honest, you're doing a test. It's multiple choice. And you've got something this simple sitting up in front of you. And you don't have to show your work. What do? You count. You know what I mean? And it may be working, but be prepared for something. And I've seen this drawn on ACT tests before. And then they'll go like that.
It'll jump like 2 million.
That little squiggly line means so on and so on. So they start at -343 over here, you'd say. Okay, for that one, -342, -341. You see what I'm saying? they'll go from one to the other. On this one, you'd need to use coordinates, wouldn't you? Okay? They did, I know that, I remember in a math test I took to become a teacher, I remember having something like that, having a number line and something like that on it. They tried to make it hard for me.
No, it didn't work.
Didn't work. All kidding aside though,
But you-
so there is definitely a use to doing it both ways. Okay, there's nothing wrong with it. AD, the coordinates of A, -4, minus the coordinates of D. Coordinates of D is 8. I'm okay not putting it in parentheses as long as you'll write that other negative and realize two negatives make a.
Positive.
So you get the absolute value of a negative what? 12,
Is 12.
which is,
12.
the distance is 12. BD, coordinates of B is -1, minus the coordinates of D is what?
8.
That'd be
-9. Makes your distance what?
-9.
Not so bad, is it?
Nope.
I promise you we'll have things you'll like a lot less. Now this one's a little different. Distance in the X, Y coordinate plane. What's the difference here? What is the XY coordinate plane?
Like a graph?
Agreed.
The grid, graph. X-axis, what? Y-axis. Would everyone agree with that?
Yeah.
When you see this right here, parentheses with comma in between, that first one is your what?
X.
X coordinate, second one's your what?
Y.
Okay? The distance. I write my formula a little different. How they do in the book, so please write mine. And if you want to write the books, you can. Because I always try to simplify things as much as I can. Basically, you subtract your x's. Square it.
Oh, this is that.
Plus, subtract your y's. Square it. Add them together, take the square root. That's simple. We haven't talked about simplifying square roots. I just soon you get decimals as an answer here. That's all there is to it.
What is that formula called? Isn't that called something?
This distance formula. Yeah, it's the distance
Remember us
formula.
learning some kind of formula.
But in the book, what's it going to say? x2 minus x1, quantity squared. It doesn't matter which one goes first, because when you square it, they both become what? Positive. It doesn't matter. So, example. Distance, find the distance. Number 1, let's say A was -3, -4. B was 8, 10.
Grab the X and Y.
What am I going to do? Distance is going to equal, I'm going to make a big, nice, long square root sign in one set of parentheses. You're going to subtract them, right? You write both x's there, right? Everybody watch me do this and then you can write it down. Both x's there, both y's there. My two x's are what?
-3.
-3 and what?
8.
My two y's are what?
-4 and 10.
-4 and 10. This is going to make what? -11, correct? Then you're going to square that. This will make what?
-14.
-14, and then you're going to square it. What you're left with is 121. They always come out positive because it's squared. Plus 196. So you get the square root of 317. What is that approximately? It's about 3 decimal places.
Hold up, I got you, coach.
Does your phone have that on?
17.804.
Did I have that right? So 17 point,
804.
let's go 8. Approximately 17.8, that's your distance there. Not so bad, is it? So plug and chug, as long as you know the formula, you know it's there, you solve. So in a way, shouldn't be too hard. This should, is mind you, as much of algebra as it does of geometry, probably. Next one is the midpoint formula.
Great.
Anybody guess what a midpoint might be? Huh? What do you think midpoint is?
The little like thing like in the middle of the X's, is that what it is?
Point in between.
Close.
Huh?
Like, see, like where they cross? Is that the
No, the midpoint is exactly in the middle of between 2 points. If you have 2 points, there's only 1 point exactly in the middle. For a number line,
Doohickey stone frozen.
oh, I've got on freeze. You guys didn't see Ashton's note to me telling how much she loved me, one of my students from last year. I don't know why I'm the meanest teacher in the world.
Whoever said that?
You guys all hate me after
I like
this
how
year.
you looked at me when
No.
you said that. Jeez, I even asked for you. What's up with that?
Midpoint formula on a number line. You add the coordinates and divide by 2. We're going to do a really simple one. I'm sorry, A, B. So how would I find the midpoint? AB. A's right here at what?
-3.
B's at 2. What do I do, guys?
Add them and then divide by 2.
So my coordinates for A is what?
-3.
I add my coordinates together, so I add that to, what's my coordinates for B?
2.
And then I divide by what?
2.
2.
What would the midpoint be? That would be a -1 over a what?
2.
+2, so it's a -1/2.
Yeah.
So basically, right there is the midpoint. And look at that, I know I didn't make a perfect line, does that look about where the middle ought to be?
Yeah.
Yep.
I did that roughly, right? At a -1/2. Now, XY coordinate plane is very, very similar.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
I don't get what you did up at for the midpoint of the number.
My coordinate for A was -3. I added my coordinates. My coordinate for B was 2, so I went -3 plus 2, and then I divided them by 2. So then -3 plus 2 is -1, right? So the coordinate of my midpoint is -1/2. That's exactly in the middle.
Oh, alright.
That's how you find where the midpoint is.
Alright.
Maybe I probably should say that that's where it is. That's what we're finding out, where the midpoint is. So since we're finding where something is, we have to use x, y. So you know what we do for here?
Y minus Y of X minus
Nope.
X.
You add your x's, divide by 2, comma, you add your what? Y's, divide by 2. Really the difference between the two is think about it, a number line is just the x-axis, isn't it?
Mhm.
So we only did this part of it. If we're gonna do y's too, we have to do the what?
And then we leave it in.
Y's
order.
too. So for, as an example, if I said find the midpoint C, negative 8 comma negative 4, and D, 5 comma 4. It's a point on the XY axis. So what am I gonna have to do? What are my two X's?
Negative
Stop writing, I'll let you write it down after we're done. I'll zoom out and you can write it down. What are my two X's?
Negative 8 and 5.
Negative 8 plus a what? Positive 5 over 2. That's the X, where the X coordinate will be. Where's the Y coordinate? Where are my Y's?
It's negative 4
Plus 4 over what?
2.
Now, when you simplify all of it, negative 8, that'd be a negative 1 1/2, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that would be 0 over 2 would be?
0.
Wait, what?
Now, why do you think I wrote that as a mixed number? And the other stuff I actually leave it as an improper fraction. Pay attention, please. All that should be up here.
Because it's easier to go on
It's
the-
easier to, if you want a location, what tells you more? To go to the left, negative 1 1/2, or go to negative 1 1/2, or go to negative 3 over 2?
negative 1.
Negative 1 1/2, you're gonna go 1 and then another half. So when you're talking about ordered pairs, I would actually leave them as mixed numbers. Okay? Okay, I'll get out. Has everybody got down what's up there where I can freeze this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Went through that fast. Your assignment